Everyone talks about scaling up. More animals, more land, more garden, more whatever you're doing on your farm means more money, right? We tried this a few years ago. I had a year where we made almost $200,000. And then based on that, you know what we did? We scaled back. Yep, scaled back, took it back some. And we did that intentionally. Today, we're doing around $75,000 annually in sales, and we're doing that with less cattle, less chickens, less pigs, a simpler operation. And guess what? We are way happier doing it that way. I'm Jason, and today I want to talk to you about why we're not scaling our farm and why that might be the right decision for you. Let's get into it. Real quick, we have a newsletter, The Part-Time Farmer. This comes out every Sunday about 10 a.m. I talk about how to market your products on your farm, how to use social media and websites to grow your farm. I also talk about farming, raising cattle, chickens, pigs. We go through it all, and it's about building your farm business. Sign up now, and you also get a free PDF on how to use ChatGPT to write your social media, to write your newsletters, and to help write product descriptions for your products. This is free download for signing up for the newsletter. One newsletter every 1 to 2 weeks, no spam, I promise. Check it out. I think you'll get a lot of value in learning to grow your farm or homestead, and it's free. All right, back to the video. There's this pressure in farming and in business in general that growth equals success. If you're not expanding, you're failing. If you're not adding new enterprises, you're stagnating. If you're not doing the same thing year after year after year, then you're not ambitious enough. And I felt that hard. I know a lot of farmers have felt that. We've had really good years, and people will say, hey, why don't you buy some more land? Or, hey, why don't you double your amount of pigs? And part of me bought into that. Part of me believed that. It's easy to think that if I'm making money at this scale, well, then if I can double that or do twice as much, then I'm going to make twice as much money. And so we started exploring that actually. We had got to a point where we maxed out, we're on 55 acres, kind of maxed out what we could do here. And again, that's running cattle, chickens for meat and also for eggs, pigs for pork, turkey seasonally, and then we've also got horses, which require a lot of grazing land for hobby, and we board some horses. But the more that we tried to grow this, the more that we're like, okay, let's double down on this, let's double down on that. We found it wasn't what we wanted. I'll be completely honest with you. It became at times a nightmare just trying to keep up with it. When you add a whole new enterprise, that's a whole new focus of attention. It's more money you have to spend and infrastructure, obviously feed costs, the stuff to raise the animals. When you take something you're already doing and you double it, well, now you've got more land, you have to shift. And it just got to the point where it wasn't fun anymore, if I'm being completely honest. It took the fun and the whole reason that we signed up to do a farm, it kind of took it away. It was just like we were doing this all for money now. And that's not why we started it. Yes, we wanted to make money as a farm, of course. But when money became the sole driving factor of owning a farm, we weren't sure we wanted to own a farm anymore. So I want to talk a little bit about what I thought scaling would do for us as a farm. Obviously, we got into farming, just one, the lifestyle. We wanted to raise animals. We wanted to be outside with the kids. We wanted to teach them responsibility. We wanted to be sustainable. We wanted to have a way of our land actually making us money. And once we started doing all those things, great. Now we wanted to scale that, get it bigger, make more, do more. And we found out that the more we actually scaled, the more it took away from responsibility to kids and doing things we really enjoyed. And now everything was just focused on money. And to me, in farming, that's a trap. Thought more profit. Oh, okay, we'll buy more cattle. Okay, I'll have more money in my pocket. I thought actually I would have more independence. I work as a PA, and at the time I was full time. I work part time now. And I thought that probably at some point I would just take farming over full time, and that's what I would do, not do the PA thing anymore. Now, for me, that's a little bit hard because I'm not one of those people who got into farming to quit their job. I love farming. I also love being a PA. But it is appealing of the idea of not working nights anymore, not working 24-hour shifts anymore. There is some appeal to not doing those things. And so, I looked at farming as maybe a way that I do love farming as well. Would this take over? I thought farming would lead to more diversity, and it has done that. I could diversify my income, but I also thought the more I grew my farm, the more that safety net would be, meaning I would have much more income coming in from the farm. And one thing I learned is that obviously the more you grow, the more you need to spend to get to that point. And then I'll be completely honest with you, and I know some of you have probably felt the same, but it's just a respect factor. You know, a lot of us farm, or at least I thought that in order to be a successful farmer, I could not work another job. I had to just make my money farming. And if I didn't do that, I was a failure. I wasn't one of the big boys. I wasn't a sustainable farm. I wouldn't be respected. That having a big farm where I didn't work any other jobs and the farm provided all the income would give me legitimacy. And I've learned for us today that wasn't true. All this is to say, I really had to reevaluate what growth really meant, what scaling meant for our farm. And for us, growth just meant way more investment and more that we wanted to do, at the same time losing the things that made farming important to us. For instance, leasing. You know, we've got cattle. I think you can see a few of them down here somewhere. We were at a point where we needed to lease land if we were going to grow our cattle operation. And leasing land isn't just leasing land. Yeah, maybe sometimes you get lucky and you fall into a great piece of land that has fencing and water and it's all set up and great. We've looked around out here and either they're taken or they don't exist. I haven't been able to find that. I have been able to find a lot of land that's, you know, just shrub land or not being used that I could convert into a grazing land. But most farmers too, or most people with the land, aren't going to sign a contract or a lease. You know, it's usually handshake agreements, and I won't do those. I'm not going to do those because to get those lands ready for, say, cattle means I have to put in fencing. You could be talking $15,000 to $20,000 investment there. You're talking about it needs water, so that could be a well, it could be a pond. You know, that's still an investment, whether it's earth moving equipment, putting in a well. I'll have to have more equipment to manage it. You know, I'm either going to be hauling hay back and forth to that farm. It means I need a trailer now. It means I'm spending more in gas. It means I'm doing more work. It means I'm spending more money in hay. And then, of course, there's the cattle to stock it. Cattle these days, if I had to do it these days, you can't. I mean, I couldn't do it back then. I definitely couldn't do it today. The price of cattle these days are just, I mean, I'm glad for the farmers that are getting those prices, but man, if you got to buy, or you're trying to buy, you know, stockers and raise them out, it's hard to do that. So long story short, you're talking about a $75,000, $100,000 investment for something that's not guaranteed. Even if it is guaranteed, what, if you can get 7 years, which is a hard ask, you know, it's still, to me, that's not worth it. And leasing land just felt like I would be putting too many eggs into a basket that I didn't have control of that basket. I'd be spending too much money, too much time, and basing too much of our farm being successful on too many what ifs. And then talking about leasing to grow our cattle operation, it meant a lot more work for me. You know, I love the farm work, don't get me wrong, but when you're already doing, you know, 40 to 50 hours here, which you have, and then you're going to add another farm that you have to drive to, do chores, you know, transport equipment. It just gets to the point where, yes, you've grown, but you've also increased your amount of hours. We didn't want to do that. I've seen farmers that have done leases and then, you know, just on a whim, the owner decides they want to do something else with the property. They want to just, they can cancel the lease right there. And then you've got to figure out, okay, now what am I going to do with all these animals too? Just again, something we didn't want to do. And trust is great with your neighbors and farmers until it isn't, until something goes wrong. And I guess it's all just to say, at least for us, it felt like the bigger our farm was getting, the more we were doing. It wasn't that I owned more of the farm, it was that almost the farm owned more of me. You know, it tied me to the farm and made it where there was no time for other things. And for me, that's a deal breaker. And for us, for my family, that was a deal breaker. So we didn't end up leasing. And I think that worked out great for what we wanted to do with our farm. So the big question I ask myself is, why am I doing this farm? Why are we doing all this? Why am I going to lease land? Obviously, you can say yes, to make more profits, but asking the real why. What do I want from this farm? I realized if we were going to lease land and grow, I would still need to work as a PA because it would just require too much infrastructure. I need money to come in. We also have a mortgage. We have 3 daughters, and that would actually mean more 24-hour shifts at the hospital. It would also mean I need more money to buy more cattle because obviously if you're leasing, well, then you got to get more animals for that land. It would mean less time with my family, less time doing YouTube, less time building websites, which I enjoy doing through homegrown hosting, less time for doing homeschool, and just less time for doing fun things. I love the farm, but I like to get away from the farm too, take a vacation, go to the movies, go out to eat with the family. So asking the question, why am I doing this? And a lot of it came down to, again, legitimacy. I felt like I needed to have a big operation to be successful. I felt like real farmers scale up. And because honestly, staying the same kind of felt like failure. And it made me realize that even though I felt those things, I didn't want a massive operation. I like being the part time farmer with a much more manageable farm. I like being able to work my PA job, but only have to do it part time. That way I have steady income, I have health insurance, and right now I work 1 day a week. I like being able to have time with my family, being able to go to the movies, being able to just sit inside, help my kids with homeschool, watch a movie. I didn't want to be working 80 hours on the week just to say that I'm a massive farm or a massive operation. And I realized prior to thinking about all of this scaling up that the life that I thought I wanted, I actually already had. Just staying what I call small. I mean, 55 acres is still a lot to manage. We're still doing a couple hundred chickens, about 40 head of cattle, that 20 to 40, depends on where we're at in processing and times. Also horse boarding, and we've got enough going on now, and it's bringing in a decent income. So based on all this, we scaled down. We took it down. We dropped our cattle load a bit. We definitely did less chickens and stuff this year. We actually had someone else help raise our pigs out. Something we're trying. We'll see how that works. I haven't done all the numbers yet. But we scaled it back pretty significantly. And we went from around 150 to 200,000 down to about 75,000. And I am way happier. I feel better. I feel like I have more time to be with my family. But more importantly, I feel like I'm actually farming now to be fun again. Meaning it's not all about trying to keep up. When you're doing that much, that's a lot of orders put together. That's a lot of animals you're hauling back and forth to the processor. It's a lot of inventorying. And now I feel like I can actually get my work done on the farm and then be like, oh, I actually have time now to maybe go build this pasture or maybe even start a garden this year. Who knows? Um, I say that because I'm looking at my weed garden right here. We started it last year, and that's what it ended up as. So, again, not having the time to deal with it, and just we kind of went from running ourselves into the ground trying to scale this thing and trying to prove that we're a real farm and we can do this to what, we are a real farm and we don't have to get that big to be successful. What counts as successful is that we are actually happy. If I'm making $500,000 a year, but I'm dead tired and I'm missing time with my family and kids, to me, that's not successful. That's definitely not why we bought this farm. Again, we bought it with the romantic view, we will grow stuff, be self-sufficient, but we wanted to make money too. And that's sort of what we're getting back to, is those roots. So what did all this scaling up and then scaling back teach us? Number one, growth is a tool, not a goal. Bigger isn't necessarily better. It's just bigger, if I'm being honest. And really, growth should serve your life, not the other way around where you're serving your farm to achieve growth. If scaling helps you achieve what you actually want to do, by all means, go for it. Do it, because then it's working for you. But if you're only scaling because you think that it's going to give you more freedom, or you're doing it because you just think you're supposed to, that's how you're successful, please stop, because that is the quickest way to burn out and to failure. Honestly, you're not going to be happy even if you hit your numbers. That's when you'll start questioning, why am I doing this? So think about that. Think about your why. Number two, your profit matters more than your total revenue. And what I mean by that is that I would rather make $75,000 a year for working 20 hours a week than I would $150,000 a year working 80 hours a week. Because at that point, getting that big, I'm trading too much of my time for money. And I value my time way more than money. I value my time with my family. I value my time doing fun things. Again, growing, scaling means you will be trading that time. And if the money's worth it to you, okay, then fine, go for it. But if it's not, or if you're just doing it because you think that's where you need to be, or it's going to make you happier because you're hitting those numbers, it won't. So think about your why again. Why are you doing it? At least for our farm, we value our time way more than we value the money. And then that actually, leads me into the romantic view of the farm can be dangerous. We romanticize the idea of being your own farmer, of living off the land, being your own boss, total freedom. But in reality, it's hard, it's relentless, it's financially risky. And sometimes you're not your own boss, you're just an employee of your own business that you created. There's really nothing romantic, and I can tell you from experience, from being broke, being tired all the time, and being tied to your farm 365 days a year, not being able to do anything because you're just trying to keep up. So know your why before you scale. Again, if scaling achieves your goals, do it, but know your why. Why are you scaling? And is that why a valid reason? Is that why going to get you to where you want to be without sacrificing too much of the things you already have or really enjoy? Will you make more profit doing this compared to your other job? Are you going to be working less hours if you get to the numbers you need to on the farm versus the other job that you have? Because that will determine your happiness. And that's a big factor that you have to include when you're scaling. And then even the respect thing, ask yourself from who? Who are you trying to prove? Why do you feel that you need to do that? I asked myself this question, and I think it was just, honestly, that's what I was sort of learning to farming. That's sort of seemed the culture. That sort of seemed like a lot of the people I were listening to, that was what made you a real farmer, was that you had to be totally sustainable with your farm, that you didn't have another job, you didn't have other income. And I believe that's wrong. I think that's just somebody's opinion. And if you're trying to achieve that because other people are telling you that's the right way to do it, well, that's wrong. So know your why, know why you are doing it, because in the end, that's what matters. So what did we get from scaling back, and what I think we would have had more of if we didn't try to scale? One, time. I can work on homegrown hosting videos. I can spend more time with my kids. I can go out places. I can pursue other hobbies. I like video games, retro gaming machines, have a whole setup of that. I like comic books. I like thrifting, just going out with the family, going to thrift shops and antique stores. And I get more of that time back to do those things since we scaled back. Flexibility. I can take a weekend off. I have much more time around the farm because I'm not doing 50 things. I'm doing about 5 or 10 things now. And so it gives me a lot of flexibility in deciding what I want to do, what we want to do as a family, and what I want to do with the farm. A big one here I got back was just peace. I feel way more relieved, honestly. Every year that we kept scaling up, it gets more stressful because at a point you've either got to hire help, you just can't do it all. And then when you start asking your wife and family to pick up more of the load because you can't do it all, and you haven't hired anybody yet, and you don't really want to hire anybody because that wasn't your whole idea of kind of having a homestead slash farm, it's just stressful. It became stressful to the point that it just wasn't fun. It was unnecessary stress, and honestly, just normal everyday life stuff has stress. So picking something you think you want to do that then is just going to add stress to your life doesn't make sense. Way less stress now, much more stress free, and just feel a lot better about where we're at as a family and the farm as a whole. We have a farm we enjoy now. We have a farm that is not consuming our entire life. It's still the lifestyle. We're still out here every morning doing chores. We're still doing projects, but it's just way more dialed back to a point where if I can't get to the project today, I'll get to it tomorrow. If I can't do it this week, I'll get to it next week. Things just aren't as hectic and, on a schedule. And essentially, I became an employee of the business I created. If you're going through any of this, I highly recommend just scale back a little bit. Look at what you're doing. Sit down and talk with the things that really make you happy, because sometimes you'll realize the thing you think you wanted, which we thought was a huge farm that provided all the income, well, that comes with you doing a lot of work. Or you getting to the point where you're hiring somebody, but then you're growing even more to cover the expenses that you're paying that person. Again, I've said it a few times in the video, but know your why. Why are you doing it? I'll go ahead and say a lot of this came from, I watched a video about Stony Ridge Farmer. I bet a lot of you have watched him, and I enjoy his videos. His last video, at least as I understand it, thinks he's selling the farm. The whole last 11, 12 years he's been growing this farm, and I think he's going through some of these same things where it's just, you think you want something, and people change too. I say we've changed. I'm getting older. Being out here 80 hours a week, it ain't working for my body anymore. But anyways, I think he's thinking about going from a 150 acre farm down to an 11-acre homestead. And awesome, and knowing your why, I think that's gold right there. If you can figure out and be able to tell yourself what you want and it not be what everybody expects and not be what you're only doing it because you think that's what you're supposed to do. I think it's happened to him. It's happened to our farm where we've questioned things. We've been doing this now for 10 years. And I think it happens with a lot of farms. And I think we need to be okay with saying, you know what, it's okay to step back. It's okay to make farming fun again, you know? Don't make it where you depend. That's how farms fold. If you everything's depending on it, you know, have some backup. You know, don't a lot of us don't like our jobs. I get that, but you know, try to maybe find a way. You know, I started doing websites. That's another thing. I haven't even done really videos about that. I've mentioned it a few times. I build websites for farmers, but it's something I really enjoy. You know, I feel like if I can create them a website that can then bring them in income without standing around at a market, you know, that's another job in itself. You know, it's something I enjoy. I think we all can find things that we enjoy, and we need to keep those at the front and center, even if it means we're not making two, three, $400,000 a year. You know, it's your happiness, your sanity, your health, and time. You know, time is just something that's the most important thing. You're not going to get that back. You know, once you've lost time. My kids right now, that's been a big factor for me, a big, huge motivating factor. When I started this, my kids were little, and as I got older, as I got more into it, I realized how many moments, even though I was here at the farm, how many moments I was missing with them. Things I was missing, last things they may ever do. You know, and even when I was inside, I was too tired to read a book or play a game. And that's just not cool, you know? So that was a big motivating factor in me to really find out what my why was. Anyways, that's all long winded, just to say, know your why. It's okay to scale back. Don't do your farm or think you have to get big because that's what everyone tells you to. Figure out what makes you happy. Do it. We'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.